So the iPad Pro has been out for a little bit over a year now, and Apple has made some serious improvements to really increase the functionality of this tablet as it's aged. But where does it stand now that iPadOS has been out? So starting with hardware, when the iPad Pro first came out, everyone was very wowed by its specs. It had the A12X Bionic chip, it shipped with really fast SSD storage, and you also had the 4 gigs of RAM or the 6 gigs of RAM on the 1 terabyte version, which was pretty mind-blowing for a tablet. So the iPad Pro did have great specs, but what limited the device at launch was iOS. iPadOS wasn't out, it had great hardware, but the software really limited its true potential. It was one of the fastest mobile devices out there, but it really couldn't push itself out. But now that I've had the iPad for about a year now, and I've seen how it's progressed with iPadOS, I can really tell you what I think and where I think it stands in 2020. So starting with the design aspect of things, the iPad Pro was a bit of a throwback design. It was similar to the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5, and it's a thin slab of aluminum in the hands, and it feels so light, it's like a piece of space-age technology. And the screen itself is pretty awesome. The colors are very accurate, very bright, and the screen is very sharp. The bezels are pretty thin, but not razor thin like we've seen on some of the really super modern displays this year. However, the Pro display is what makes this tablet mind-blowing. It's absolutely one of my favorite features on the iPad Pro. But most importantly, the 120Hz refresh rate on the screen is what really seals the deal. It feels like butter when using it. It's so smooth, so responsive, and it really gets me excited for the mobile devices in the future that are going to be using this technology, like the OnePlus 8. I've got my eyes on you. All of the physical buttons on the iPad also feel really good. They're all aluminum and they're all really solid. And moving on to battery life, I haven't noticed the battery getting any worse after using it for a year. It still gets me through the whole day, and it's awesome. And Apple dropping the Lightning jack and using USB-C was another benefit, but it wasn't totally usable until iPadOS came out and really used that port. And the speakers on this tablet are actually really impressive. They deliver really great stereo sound and are actually really powerful. And just to mention, if you haven't already realized, yes, the iPad Pro has the iPhone XS and XR's camera. I'm not really a tablet photographer, but I have used it to scan documents and just used it for general maintenance things. Face ID on the iPad Pro also works really good. However, maybe in the future we'll get it to work a little faster and be more responsive, but overall it gets the job done. And moving on to the Apple Pencil, it has a ton of usability for people that can incorporate it into their workflow. For example, I personally don't have one because of note-taking and general use. I found that I don't really need it. It's great that Apple does allow the Pencil to now magnetically charge on the side of the iPad rather than the abomination it was on the older iPad Pro. That being said, my favorite accessory for the iPad Pro has been the Bridge keyboard. I actually heard some negative things about the keyboard before I got one, like keys getting stuck or keys even falling off. However, when I did get one and have been using it for the whole year, I have had no problems with it. It's been absolutely awesome. Using the iPad Pro by itself is a super fresh and light experience. However, when you introduce a full hinge mechanism and a backlit keyboard, it delivers somewhat of a similar experience to having a laptop or a Microsoft Surface, for example. Typing feels great on the keyboard, and it's really sturdy and actually made from aluminum. It's actually heavier than the iPad itself. Also, having the ability to use the desktop version of apps like YouTube is awesome. The improvements made with iPadOS, starting with the dedicated widget screen to the multitasking apps in split view, and the USB-C being practically unlocked with the ability to plug in external storage devices, is what made the iPad into an incredible device. And with iPadOS, I have been able to just edit photos on the iPad directly from the external drive from the camera, and it's been a breeze using it with Lightroom. The workflow that can be delivered by this tablet is truly unique, and I've really been able to complete pretty much anything I've thrown at the tablet, from editing photos to typing up documents to watching YouTube to playing games. It pretty much has everything I need. So wrapping things up, the iPad Pro can really adapt to a variety of workflows. In my case, it hasn't replaced my laptop, but it has offered an alternative that has been an absolute blast to use. Sometimes a lot of reviews you see online for this tablet feel like ads just because the tablet is so good to use. So in 2020 and beyond, the iPad Pro still stands as a valuable device for anyone looking for a phenomenal mobile computing experience. Maybe in the future we're going to get another one, but as of right now, this thing still stands in 2020. That's been the review, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a comment. I read them all. See you guys in the next one.